Welcome to the Odds Breakers, your number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell no, no, to the no, no. Hell to the no, no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, no, to the no, no, no.
Absolute chaos. Welcome back to podcast 77 of 2025. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media / the Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you like to support the Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any. For winning cappers, get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. Hell no. Man. If you guys were on the Cardinals for your survivor play, well, I know a good drywall guy. What an absolute devastating beat. That was absolutely disgusting. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it's the worst. And we'll get to that. There is all kinds of situations where survivors are picked, and it's tough to lay off the most obvious freaking thing. Piggyback that with the Rams and the Buffalo Bills. The number one was the Rams in circa. Number two was the Cardinals. And number 5 was the Bills. The third and fourth got through with the Colts and the Lions. We'll get to that in the NFL, but I want to first cover a little recap in college football. I was on vacation. Well, I was camping, actually. I wouldn't call it vacation, but had the iPad, was able to watch not most of the games, but after we didn't leave until Saturday afternoon, so we got the early games done. And then I was able to watch some of the Alabama Vanderbilt on the way. And then Florida State Miami at the end, a little bit of some other games. But it was pretty crazy in college football. Bama ended up covering at the end. Boise State lost by 21, which was the closing number. We only had 20.5, though. That hurt. They were completely incompetent when they got down towards the red zone, So, one of those weekends that you kind of just wish you were on the other side of some stuff, I will say Florida State backdoored for us. I don't know how the hell that happened at the end of the night. But, we'll take it because we had 6.5. We got the early number. We gave it out at 6.5 on Sunday. That's why you get the early numbers. Right? That's the important thing. But from a contest perspective, you lose. And if you got it late, you lose. Ohio State only allows 3 points to the Gophers. 3 points. And this Ohio State defense is something else. Absolutely something else. Oklahoma, Kent State never got over for me. 0 points scored in the fourth quarter. And I know they're waiting for the Red River rivalry, but Jesus, I thought I'd get some garbage in the fourth quarter, at least from Kent State, but they couldn't even score against Oklahoma's freaking third string.
That's terrible.
It is what it is. You could be Penn State this week, though. Went to UCLA, 0-4 UCLA, and how did that go, Penn State? Not so good. Mississippi State couldn't sniff a cover. It was really a weekend of favorites. Our buddy Chris Felica called that out. He said he's going with favorites. It worked out well for the most part, for sure. I'm sure he had a great week. We had a little bit of a down week on college football, down 5-6 units, but the NFL, we were winners even with losing those 2 teaser plays. So that was fun. Cincinnati, I'm glad that Brad and Chris talked to me on that side. I ended up taking Cincinnati minus the 1.5. That helped. A late play on Rice didn't help. I was on the wrong Owls, that's for sure. FAU, after the bye, went into Rice and kicked their ass. How about Louisville losing their first game against Virginia? I think Virginia's in a letdown spot. Well, it didn't work that time. It doesn't work every time. It just doesn't. That was a great spot for Louisville to, put it on them, and Virginia was better. Gave back a little bit of what I won last week against Florida State. Florida State was mostly fraudulent in that Miami game. Should have never came back. That was just more Cristobal being a moron. Bad decisions. We can go hand in hand, talk about that all day. But it wasn't as bad as that Boise State game. When you have 20.5 in pocket, you let them score at the very end of the game, pretty much. That was painful. How much time was left in this game? 7:54, 49-yard run by Jadarian Price. 49-yard run.
Unreal.
But that's how close it is. Flip a couple games and we're profitable, that week. But totals didn't do great. Akron somehow went over and decided to score a bunch against Central Michigan. What a terrible showing for Central Michigan. There's a Michigan game that was actually a hell of a lot closer than Michigan wanted. It was 10-3 at halftime against Wisconsin. They only scored 7 in the third. Wisconsin was really in this game for a long time. It says more about Michigan because Wisconsin's a bad team. Wisconsin's 2-3 now, having to face Iowa, 3.5-point home dog. That's an interesting spot, and we'll be keying in on that spot later. Texas losing outright to Florida. Unfortunately, that win's not aging well for Ohio State, but that's the SEC for you. Florida scored all over them. Lagway, 21 for 28, 298 yards and 2 TDs. He all of a sudden looked completely different than he did the whole year. And going back to Vanderbilt's in this game, doesn't score anything in the second half. It's 14-14 at halftime. Alabama shouldn't even been in that game in the first half. They scored at the very end. And then 16 unanswered points, 10 in the fourth quarter. Vanderbilt bettors definitely felt the pain. I decided not to bet Vanderbilt. I was back and forth all week. Friday night when I did the show with Spaces with Kyle Hunter, I really thought about betting Vanderbilt, and I thought I was going to, but I just never got to the window. Houston was utterly dominated by Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is the best team in the Big 12. I'm convinced now. 5-0 Texas Tech will be a threat when they get to the playoffs. Let's just say they're going to be a threat. They got to get through ASU, though, in a couple weeks. That's going to be fun. I might go to that home ASU game. I'm hoping to, anyway. So that was college football, but back to the NFL, man. Over 60% of active survivors at Circa Survivor went out last week. You get all these entries. Are you getting them just to throw money on favorites? Is that why you're doing 10 survivors? Because if you're doing 10 survivors and you're just throwing it on favorites, have fun just splitting a pot with massive amounts of people. The question I have for myself is, would I be on Arizona in this perfect spot for them if I didn't burn Arizona for week 1? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I did lay off the Colts for a reason, because I thought Vegas was in a good spot. I did lay off the Rams on Thursday because A, Rams don't have a great home field. B, Kyle Shanahan has a number. And C, Mac Jones is a very underrated quarterback, in my opinion. I'm pissed I didn't bet it. I talked to Mr. Lucky about it, as you heard last week. But, yeah, I see why people are on the Rams. Wrong side. The result was wrong. Stupid, boneheaded coaching with that run up the middle. I agree with going for it. I don't agree with that horrible play call that you had 2 timeouts to figure out. Even the best coaches, and I do have Sean McVay as one of the best coaches, tend to screw up sometimes. And definitely prove that right here.
Yes, I try. Yes, I try.
Return of the Mac was Mac Jones, and he burned a bunch of survivors, 28%. I took the Lions myself, so still holding on, but I am burning some good teams as well, but just not trying to take the consensus. Next week, though, with the Packers, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard no. Unfortunately, I think that Survivor has gotten easy after this week. After this week of everyone getting burned, the only dangerous team that's really bad is the Jets because they still don't have that first win. I feel like the Titans, now that they first had that win, now the Saints got that win, will lay down the rest of the season or a hell of a lot of the time of the games during the rest of the season because, you know, the embarrassment of being never having a win is huge. But once you get that one win, it doesn't matter, you know. So I just feel that with the Saints, the Giants, the Titans, like I mentioned, and the Bengals, it's almost too easy here on out because we're always going to be able to fade one of those teams on the road, right? You know, it's almost like if you have to burn a better team in Survivor, maybe you do. But here's the thing. Is it worse to lose the way the Cardinals did, which was completely improbable when it was all their mistakes, the interception fumbles, you know, the dropping the ball? DeMarc Hardo just blows your mind how people can do this. Or is it worse to lose on a biased official like you saw in the Indianapolis Denver game? Well, the thing is, most people weren't on Survivor in that game, right? But there's always a few that were, and it's not talked about as much because it's not a common play. But losing because of an official changed the outcome pisses you off. I mean, that's what happened to us last year against when Baltimore lost to the Raiders. That BS pass interference flag that happens every single play, and it's never called. You know? So some ref just wanted to be cute. I almost feel that's kind of worse because you're losing to somebody being dishonest in this rather than just completely somebody's incompetence. You know, if you take the Cardinals just like I did week 1, you know what's coming. If you lose, it's because you took the Cardinals. You know, and that's just the incompetence that you got out of it. You know, it's tempting to get contrarian and pick teams you're never going to want to use again in certain weeks. But, man, sometimes when it's just the most common pick is the time to stay away. And so for all the people that are left in Survivor, you have a massive one-up and probably a value of about $5,000 per entry at the Circa. The good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend. And starting with the good, how about West Virginia backdoor cover against BYU? You know, how about that? That was pretty good for West Virginia bettors. That is kind of crazy how the moments led to that as well. Minute 25, they got the back door. Return of the Mac Jones, baby. That is a hell of a performance. Mac Jones definitely makes my good this week. Miami backdoor with FSU. The Miami FSU game, FSU gets through the backdoor for early bettors. But also, I want to say Miami's choke, allowing them through the backdoor kind of helped. Kind of still keeps my opinion the same on Cristobal. Kansas's comeback. Jesus. They were getting their butts kicked and completely came back against Central Florida, you know, just out of nowhere. Ended up covering the road spread. That thing looked dead. I didn't wish I would have bet it, but I didn't. Texas Tech, like I said, best team in the Big 12. Favorites in college. Man, they have been rolling those favorites. Not many losses there in college, except Penn State. Browns. The reason this is good, and I lost my Circa Millions pick on 3.5 on the Browns, but I had 4.5 from the early line that we gave out, and that came back to 4.5 too, by the way. So they really middled the books. So you got to give the Browns credit for middling the books. The Panthers come back. That was massive. How the hell you're down to Miami so much, and Miami just lets you come back? That's just, I guess throw in Miami on one of those teams you can fade usually weekly, and probably the Panthers. To be honest with you, I think the Panthers might be a step above all those teams now. The Broncos beating the Eagles. Finally, somebody beats the Eagles. Bo Nix got it done. That thing I thought was dead for a while, and just amazing fourth quarter out of the Broncos. Hits our ticket on the plus 4.5 on the Broncos. The Saints had that one too. Big win at the end. Lots of turnovers for the Giants. Jackson Dart showing his rookiness. There you have it. It was a perfect spot for the Saints. And both the Giants and the Saints season win total unders are still looking decent. The Patriots and Stefon Diggs, man. Drake May and Stefon Diggs were both awesome against the Bills. And they outplayed Josh Allen that game. They did. They were hungrier. They wanted it. And I told my buddy, I'm like, I don't think I'm taking the Bills this week, and I still have the Bills left in Survivor. My numbers just said to bet the Patriots. When my numbers say to bet against them, it's usually not a take for me in a Survivor. Now for the bad. Dude, it wasn't just Sean McVay on Thursday Night Football. Kyle Shanahan cowardly played for the tie. He burns their timeouts, but there's like 2 minutes left, and you only can punt to like the 50 from Wake there. You got to go for 3rd and 9 and try to win the game. He cowardly did that, and the Rams really should have won that game because of that stupidity. Both star coaches messed up, but it'll never show in the box score now for Shanahan because he won the game. If he lost the game, you'd be hearing about it, but you're not now. Crazy. Ohio's choke to Ball State. What the hell, Bobcats? Up 14-0 and don't score another point. Was there a quarterback injury in there? I couldn't watch that game. I'm going to find out more. Texas's offense and Starch Manning. Not so good. Not good at all. Losing to Florida. Vanderbilt's choke makes the bad. Texas's defense also made my bad, allowing 457 yards to Florida. A DJ Lagway led Florida. That didn't make no sense. The Ravens. I even mentioned the Ravens. I thought that Lamar was really going to play. I put a unit on their money line at plus 105, and then all of a sudden it became clear to me that they weren't, and I laid 3 stars on the Texans, and that ended up being very smart. So was able to and I used them for a play in the circus. So that Ravens team, holy cow. But I'm telling you, I think there's value coming on them. I think they lose to the Rams. They get to bye. That's when you bet the Ravens to get to the championship game or AFC championship game or win the division, I guess, something like that. Now for the ugly. Sean McVay blowing everyone's survivors. After all those awesome Stafford plays you've been seeing, they know how to screen each other out on wide receivers. You got Puka Nacua. You got Devontae Adams. I mean, that's what you have. That's the play you have to try to win this game. A freaking run to the guy that's been fumbling the ball all week. They missed extra points, missed field goals. I mean, clearly they were the better team and just blew it. Boston College, ugly. What the hell happened to you, Boston College? I was on Boston College pretty big, and it moved away from me, and I was licking my chops. I thought, I was like, these people are dumb. The market is dumb. I'm smart. Well, I was the one that was dumb. I still believed in Boston College and got my ass kicked. They didn't even show up at Pitt, or if they did, I mean, they're. I don't know how I'm going to bet on them again this year. It'd have to be a hell of a spot. How about Maryland's choke? That makes my ugly because they were beating Washington the whole game until the very end of the game in the fourth. They freaking give it all up. Gave it all up. Thank God they covered for me, but Jesus, what a massive choke on Maryland. Boise State and 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers, Boise. I should have covered that freaking game. Penn State losing to UCLA. hiring James Franklin?
You know, what do you think you're doing? What have you done? Do you know what you just did? Huh? I'll tell you what you just did. You just, in a very simple common term, made the mistake of a lifetime.
How do you go to UCLA and lose after that Oregon game? Oregon's freaking pissed at you, Franklin. What the hell? That makes the win less acknowledgeable. Sam Darnold's pick at the end. There's a few people on Seattle for their survivors. I disagreed with it. I almost took Tampa Bay to bet. And he's just Sam Darnold. He threw the ball and it hit someone's helmet, but that's just Sam Darnold. That's what happens to him. It's a little sloppy, a little bit nervous when he gets in the red zone. So Sam Darnold. Finally, the worst of the weekend, my friends. Let's start with 21-6 in the fourth quarter, and DeMarcado fumbles the ball before the end zone.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell.
How about the snap bouncing against Kyler Murray's face mask and creating a turnover?
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
How about the Cardinals getting an interception against the Titans and then fumbling the ball, gets kicked into the end zone where the Titans recover it for a touchdown?
Hell no, to the no, no, no.
And then finally, this is the one that no one's talking about enough. 3rd and 9. You're down 2 at their 20. You know damn well a field goal is going to lose the game or else you're just blind. You run the freaking ball. You run the ball against the worst pass defense in the league. You run the ball against the Titans in surrender, and then you punt the ball back to them. I mean, you know John Gannon must have been rattled or something, but that was the stupidest freaking coaching move of the entire weekend. And that's saying a lot.
Well, Blondie, so long.
All right, now it's time for a little college football. Week 6 misleading final scores, and there's a few of them out there. Delaware outgained Western Kentucky 435 to 338, yet lost 27 to 24 on Thursday. 2-1 turnover ratio, including a pick 6, and bad special teams slaughtered the Hens. It's like a fox in a little chicken coop, right? Syracuse was garbage time, so we're not talking about that one. Louisville outgained Virginia 383 to 287, yet lost 30 to 27. A 2-0 turnover ratio got the Cardinal. The Texas State outgained Arkansas State 519 to 398, yet lost 31 to 30. A 1-0 turnover ratio and just bad red zone. Got the Cats. Wyoming outgained UNLV 356 to 255, yet lost 31 to 17, a 3-1 turnover ratio and poor special teams got them boys. And Florida State outgained Miami 404 to 338, yet lost 28 to 22, a 4-0 turnover ratio. Slaughtered them semis. I still think Miami would have beat them by more if that wasn't for that comeback, but what a gross turnovers for Florida State and Jonathan Castellanos, who I probably should have mentioned in my bad. Letdown spots. In college football, week 7, betting spots, I should say. Letdown, UCLA at Michigan State after beating Penn State outright is one. Florida at Texas A&M after upsetting Texas is there for sure. Cincinnati hosting UCF after beating Iowa State is one. It's an ugly one, but it's one. Arkansas State hosting Georgia Southern after beating Texas State. But that one is the following Tuesday, actually. But since it's so close, I had to mention it. Temple hosting Navy after upsetting UTSA is also there as well. Get up spots. Penn State better wake up hosting Northwestern after 2 big L's in a row. Iowa State better emerge as Colorado after their big L to Cincy. Texas against Oklahoma is always big, right? It's not a get up spot for either team, but I just want to mention Texas better do something here. Texas State hosting Troy is a good spot for them after losing to Butch Jones. So Texas State might want some to get up against Troy. Wisconsin needs a big win against Iowa. Where's the wins on this schedule? Florida State needs a big win hosting Pitt, and Arkansas coach fired Angle playing at Tennessee. So we'll be looking to bet Arkansas possibly for this week. Look ahead spots. Could ASU look past Utah to Texas Tech? Yeah, I think so. It's a big game in Utah still, but they might be thinking Texas Tech a little bit in the back of their minds. That's the only look ahead spot I could find, really. There's so many freaking bye weeks that affect this. It's not really a look ahead if you're coming off the bye. So it's tough to do that, but I'll have this article out on Thursday. A short rest, Washington with only 6 days rest at Rutgers. I wonder if they're staying on the East Coast. I got to look over that. Long rest, Auburn off the bye hosting Georgia. Georgia Tech off the bye hosting Virginia Tech. Iowa off the bye at Wisconsin. Jacksonville State off the bye versus Sam Houston. Louisiana off the bye at James Madison. Marshall off the bye hosting Old Dominion. Missouri off the bye hosting Alabama. North Texas off the bye hosting South Florida. Rutgers off the bye hosting Washington. Stanford off the bye at SMU. And USC off the bye hosting Michigan. Now a little NFL, Week 5 misleading final scores. The Rams outgained the 49ers 456-407, yet lost 26-23, a 2-0 turnover ratio, poor special teams, bad coaching, as you know, got the shams. The Giants outgained the Saints 335-332, yet lost 26-14. A nasty 5-0 turnover ratio smashed the big men. The Seahawks outgained the Buccaneers 463-426, yet lost 38-35. Not that misleading, but a 2-0 turnover ratio again for Sam Darnold mostly killed the Sequacks. So I wanted to mention that. And the Cardinals outgained the Titans 360-327, yet lost 22-21, a bad 3-2 turnover ratio, a weird fumble, gutless coaching from Jonathan Gannon, and a drop ball landed the Birds. NFL Week 6 betting spots. There's a lot of them here. Both the Patriots and the Saints won, so there's no letdown spots for them. But we'll go through letdown spots. The Broncos could let down at the Jets after the big Eagles win. The Titans could be soft at the Raiders after the big Cardinals upset. Both the Buccaneers and Niners play each other after wins, so no letdown spots really there. The Panthers could be soft hosting the Cowboys after the big Miami comeback. Get up spots. The Bears are in a revenge spot at the Commanders from last year's fail Mary. The Raiders better wake up hosting the Titans after looking like crap against the Colts. Good betting spot for the Raiders. Chargers better emerge in Miami after the bad play over the last 2 weeks and losses. Packers should be up for the Bengals after losing to Cleveland and tying in Dallas. The Cardinals were pathetic and need a shower and beat the Colts after blowing the game to the Titans and the Seahawks at the Jaguars after the choke to the Bucks. Man, that's a hell of a spot, man. There's some good spots this week. I mean, can you just muster the gumption to get on the Cardinals this week? You know, what's the number? 6.5. It's just it was 5.5 earlier. Man, that's a tough bet, right? Sometimes you just got to suck it up and do it. The Bears are also big dogs at the Commanders, 3.5 points, 4 in some books. It's just such an interesting look-ahead situation. You got Atlanta Falcons plus money against the Bills. Great Lions-Chiefs Sunday nighter. There's some pretty good games coming up this week. You got the Chargers in like a spot, too, at the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, this is an interesting week of football for sure. Look ahead spots. The Cowboys could look past the Panthers to the Commanders. So let's kind of looking at that a little bit. The short week, the Jaguars after Monday night hosting the Seahawks and the Chiefs hosting the Lions. I should say Chiefs after Monday night hosting the Lions. Long weeks, the Rams after Thursday night at the Ravens. The 49ers after Thursday night at the Buccaneers. The Packers after the bye hosting the Bengals. The Falcons after the bye hosting the Bills. The Bears after the bye at the Commanders. And the Steelers after the bye hosting the Browns. That brings us to our free play. And I got to check some numbers here. Make sure this didn't move too much. Let's see here. Here we go. Sorry, Bama. You should have probably lost or won by less, I should say. Lost against the spread, won by less. Against Vanderbilt, looking at those numbers, there's some plus 3.5s right now. I like it down to 3, I guess, but we're taking Missouri plus the 3.5 points. Coming off the bye, I got to tell you, I am really impressed with Drinkwitz here. And I'm really impressed with Bo Prabula, who is looking like the better quarterback that Penn State had last year and just had to stick with Aller. So, I mean, the team might have revolted. I understand that a little bit. Just a little bit, though. You remember how Dabo Sweeney switched to Trevor Lawrence from his guy. You know, I don't know, man. Sometimes you just got to make that move if you're coaching for your life. Anyways, this is a situation where Missouri is ready for a big win. Alabama, kind of coming off the Georgia game and the Vanderbilt game, is, just telling me that they're in a flat spot. And I think this will be their flat spot. Can they afford a loss? No, not really. Not after that Florida State loss. But at Missouri, and you have Tennessee on deck, it is just an ugly spot for the Crimson Tide. And the problem, like we know, with the Crimson Tide is that they just do not stop the run that well. Even after recrunching the numbers, the defensive rushing play EPA is 72nd. That is not so good. And Missouri, 5th at rushing success rate, 8th in rushing EPA. It's not, they've had, a tougher schedule or an easier schedule, but they still played Kansas and beat them. They smoked South Carolina. I mean, I know they're not getting a lot of credit for UMass or Louisiana or an FCS, but, this is just a bad spot for Alabama, and I think this could be an outright win for a team that statistically looks really good. 2.8 net yards per play, while Bama has 1.4, but Bama has the 4th schedule. They have the 150th. Blend it all together, I think these two teams are very close to equal. Ty Simpson did well at Georgia, did not do well at the beginning of this Vanderbilt game. Did a little bit better later, but as you know, you look at the box score, it wasn't all that.
The dynasty has just begun!
All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football with our guy, D Nasty. All right, fantasy football, baby. Week 6. My homie D Nasty is back, but he's not so homie to me right now as we're watching the Cubs against the Brewers. And, he's got his good old Brewer hat on, and I don't have my Cubs hat on, but, it's a tie game at 3-3. It was real exciting for me at first, but then, boom, Brewers three-run homer back just like that. And it's a tie game, and they bring on the Mizorowski pitching, 104 miles per hour. This is going to be a tough game, bro.
Yeah, it is. This is a good series, actually. I was a little scared after the 3-0 hole again, but just like last game, we came back right away, which is crazy. So this is gonna be a good series for sure. I'm gonna be sweating off this series, I think, till the end.
Yeah, it's like the weird thing about starting. If you drop a game, you give home field or home park advantage to the next team. It's kind of weird. Yet you're up 2-0, you're feeling good. And then all of a sudden you lose 2 on the road. It's back to even Steven. So it's tough, man. This is obviously a football show, but we had to bring up a little baseball, being that both of our teams in the postseason, which is really cool, and playing each other. But here we are, Dave. It's fantasy football, and why don't we hit the bye weeks?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty slow week for the bye weeks this week, actually. Only 2 teams on bye this week. So it's actually not too bad this week. Texans are the one team. CJ Stroud coming off his best game of the year. Unfortunately, you're going to have to bench him this week. Nico Collins, another guy you're going to have to put on your bench. Woody Marks and Nick Chubb, adding them to your bench. Dalton Schultz actually had a pretty good game. He had one of his better fantasy games this week as well. But unfortunately, you're putting them all on your bench this week. The Vikings, we'll talk about Wentz here in a minute. But benching him, though, this week, Jefferson, Addison, who actually had a good game this week, and Jordan Mason, and then TJ Hawkinson as well. So get those guys all on your bench this week. Only 2 buys this week, so you shouldn't have to shuffle around your lineups too much this week.
Yeah, bench them up. Already, Alex Flores. What's up, Alex? Should I trade Chase Brown for Worthy? Well, if you need a receiver, you don't need a running back. Chase Brown is going to be... He's kind of garbagey. Now, the problem with Worthy is he's going to have some bad games too because it's the Chiefs. They will just have low-scoring games and drug it out and run with Hunt and Pacheco the whole game. And like even today, Worthy's got 27 yards, 15 yards. He's got 15 receiving yards, and it's almost the fourth quarter. It's just I'd stick with Chase Brown if you need him. Worthy's a probably borderline wide receiver 2-3. I think I liked him more before, but
I'd say 2 or at least a 3 probably, because Rashee Rice is going to be coming back soon too, so you got to keep that in mind. The next couple weeks he'll be coming back. So and they'd like to spread the ball around there a lot. Actually, they got Hollywood Brown, they use Worthy. Worthy is more of a big play guy though too, so he could have his boomer bust weeks for him. So.
99-yard pick 6 for Jacksonville. 99 yards?
Devin Lloyd.
Oh, God. There's so many screens. I switched to the Cubs. I should have just put 2 screens on. Oh, wow. My God. That is crazy.
That is crazy.
I got to rewatch this.
But, yes. So, that's a toss-up. It depends on what your bench looks like. I guess it depends on his bench and who he has at running back and receiver right now. So, I guess that would determine kind of why I make that trade. If he's weak at running back or if he's strong at running back, then I would definitely trade for Worthy if he's strong at running back. He can. Brown is definitely expendable, but if he's
Marvin Harrison instead of Worthy, I mean that's better.
Yes,
that's better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I definitely like Marvin Harrison a lot better than Worthy. He's the number 1 definitely for the Cardinals, and he's been playing well this year, and he's putting up some nice fantasy numbers too. So yeah, definitely go get Marv for Chase Brown. Definitely get Marv.
In Chase Brown, you have to understand that he's not going to get as many carries because they're going to be getting their ass kicked all the time. He'll get a few passes. He's going to be kind of okay, but how many touchdowns do you expect out of this dude? Probably not a lot.
Chase has struggled this year.
Little Brewers home run, gross.
Who hit it?
William Contreras. Imanaga's
nice.
like, ugh, get him out of here. All right, back to football. Key injuries. Amarian Hampton, high ankle sprain. He's on the IL. He's going to miss 4 weeks, my man. Or is it the DL in football?
He is, IR. Yeah. It's IR.
Right. IR. I'm sitting watching baseball. My brain's screwed. Injured reserve. He's on the 4-week injured reserve. Remember back in the day, it was like when you're on injured reserve, you're done. How crazy!
You were done for the year.
How crazy is that?
I like it now that when they can bring him back.
Much better. Much better. And you can go to your farm. Yeah, that's what you want. Chargers O-line is shot, by the way. They lost another guy, Mekhi Becton. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you want to be trading someone, I would trade some Chargers. It's looking bad again. These Harbaugh teams always get so injured, man. Saquon Barkley's got knee soreness. He said he's going to play, but it's something to monitor, right, Dave? I would monitor that.
Yeah.
Spencer Schrader, and there's not a lot of bad injuries, so this is good. I'm like literally talking about a kicker, Spencer Schrader. He's out for the season. Now he's in the kicker on the Colts, so he was definitely getting a lot of extra points and some field goals. So that is probably one of your better kickers that is now out for the season. And Antonio Gibson, which is more of a third string running back, little special teams, use punt return.
He looked good this past week when he was in, but yeah, torn ACL for him. So
yeah, he's done. So, I mean, deeper leagues is what you're worried about for that. But Dave, what did I miss?
All right, Kyler Murray actually left the game with a foot injury. He did come back though, so keep an eye on that. Khalif Raymond, the neck injury for the Lions, but he's questionable, so he could play this week. The Marion Hampton injury. Carson Wentz, left shoulder injury. He's going to be reevaluated this week. So he might not play this week. So J.J. McCarthy might be able to play. I know he was close last week. He was still doubtful last week, though. Otherwise, they're going to have to go to their third string quarterback, though. So we'll talk about that in the pickups here in a minute. Darius Slay, the hamstring. That's kind of really up in the air. They haven't really said much about him. They said that they're going to be really cautious with him because they're low on receivers right now after the neighbor's injury. So that's someone to keep an eye on as well. But yeah, pretty light week on the injuries, which is good. But definitely we'll go into some pickups, though, that'll help you fill in for some of these injuries.
Well, yes, let's get into those pickups, Dave. What do you got?
All right. So the one I really like is Hassan Haskins. Actually, I got him in one of my dynasty leagues. I picked him up just on a fly a couple weeks ago. So he's going to be definitely filling in for Hampton. But then the other guy, too, is Kamani Vidal. So I think Haskins is going to be the early down back. He's going to be kind of the banger, first and second down kind of guy. Kamani Vidal is actually going to be like the third down back, kind of receiving back. So it's going to be really hard to tell who's going to get a majority of the carries. So you can grab either one of them, but Haskins is the guy I'm probably grabbing right now. So he's the guy I really like right now. Kendrick Bourne, wow. That's all I can say. He exploded with Juwan Jennings and pure sellout. He just exploded, man. He had over 100 yards, and he had like over, I think, 12 targets. I think he had like 10 or 11 catches.
Yeah, amazing.
So,
he was huge.
Yeah, he had a great game. And then Mac Jones was looking for him all night, too. So Brashard Smith, just a speculative ad in case Pachenko or Hunt start to struggle. The running game has actually been struggling a little bit, so they might give him a little bit more playing time. With the Tillman injury, Isaiah Bond, I know we talked about him a little bit. He's seen 14 targets in the past 2 games, so just a matter of time before he starts putting up some numbers. And Dylan Gabriel actually looked really good this past week, too. So 2 touchdowns to both his tight ends. But I really like him.
Yeah, I like him
if you need a quarterback this week. Ryan Flournoy for the Dallas Cowboys. Over 100 yards, 6 grabs, 9 targets, and 114 yards. So if you need wide receiver help, he'll be starting. He's going to get a lot of targets, actually, while CeeDee Lamb is out. 2 tight ends I really like this week. Mason Taylor, since he saw 12 targets in week 5, which is crazy, and he caught 9 of them for 67 yards. He's definitely their go-to guy there. He had 5 catches the week before, so if he's out there, definitely scoop him up. He's available in a ton of leagues right now, too, as well. So he's up-and-coming rookie tight end for the Jets. They're going to be throwing a lot, too, because they're going to be down. That Jets defense is not looking good. So definitely scoop him up if you can. And Theo Johnson, another tight end I like. 2 touchdowns this past week. He's definitely Jackson Dart's one of his favorite targets now with Neighbors out. And he's only been getting more and more targets now, too, as well. But Dart he had a season-high 7 targets this past week. So definitely Dart's go-to guy now.
Okay. I like those. And did you mention Mason Taylor just a second ago?
Yep.
Mason Taylor, 9 targets. Yeah, that was pretty good for him. And I called him out a week or 2 ago, so I was glad about that. One of my bad calls was I thought Lamar was going to play, Dave. We both kind of did, and he didn't. But guess what? It's not like Cooper Rush did anything. If you picked up Cooper Rush, you probably lost in your league. He was terrible. And I don't even know who's behind him, but Jesus, man. This is like the worst contingency plan I've seen for a great team in a long time. You know, I was just waiting on Lamar, and that's what the Ravens are at now. Yeah, I think Vidal and Haskins, very much a split. Vidal, I think I do agree with you, Dave.
It's tough.
I think third down can be good for them, and O'Marion Hampton was catching passes, so that's really tough. Michael Carter, he's the man, and I picked him up late last week after the waivers passed.
That's a good one too, yeah.
I scooped him up in one of the leagues. I can't remember, one of ours. And, he had 18 touches or 18 carries last week, so that was huge. Rico
and a touchdown.
Yeah. Rico Dowdle went off for the Panthers. 206 yards. And he's going to be a great streamer this week, too, because it looks like what's his name coming back? Chuba Hubbard. I think Dowdle is going to be massive this week. Kendre Miller looked good for the Saints, and he's kind of taken over for Kamara a little bit, man.
Yeah, there was like half and half. It was pretty much a split backfield last week, which I was pretty surprised, actually. But yeah, they might be phasing Kamara out a little bit or just doing like a split backfield now, which is kind of sucky for fantasy owners. But Miller's been looking really good, though, actually. Yeah, definitely. We mentioned him last week as well.
I agree with you on Gabriel. I think he's good this week, too. Kendrick Bourne was great, like you said. Ryan Flournoy from the Cowboys. 2 rushes, 10 yards, 6 receptions, 9 targets, 114 yards. Holy cow. He came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden the Cowboys did great. I think he's going to get rewarded throughout the season. He's a pickup, speculative too. So I agree with all that. Moving into sleepers, non-starters trending up for week 6. David Montgomery Probably not starting him too often, but he's borderline. But he's against the Chiefs' run D, and the Chiefs' run D has been bad. They're better today, but ETN is being more locked down. I think that he could have a big week against the Chiefs. Blake Corum against the Ravens. How about that? He's more of a garbage pickup time, but I think. Who are they going to punish? They both fumbled, man. Last Thursday, if you remember, and that was tough. I think Corum's just going to.
And Corum had a drop pass too. That was for a first down. That would have been a huge play too. I remember. So it's like, I think Kyron's still the main guy there, but yeah, I think Corum. I like that. I like that sleeper. That was actually one of my sleepers, actually.
Yeah, Kyron's still the guy there. Wide receiver Ryan Flournoy is, like I mentioned in the waivers. Ashton Genty, if you stopped starting him, he's a good start against the Titans. Clearly, they're a desperate Raiders team. It wouldn't shock me if they blow out the Titans. Emmanuel Wilson for the Pack. I like him against the Bengals this week. I think he's going to get 20% of the carries or so and maybe get some of those garbagey touchdowns that we love so much. Dontavian Wicks as well, of course, against the Bengals is a smart start. Obviously, Jordan Love, anybody and the Packers is a great start. Running back R.J. Harvey against the Jets will get some cleanup duties as well. So I like R.J. Harvey for Denver. Wide receiver Troy Franklin against the Jets also is nice. Bryce Young, Dave, yeah. I mean, playing the Cowboys, they're just a terrible defense. Now, they looked better last week, but look who they were playing, the Jets. Who cares? Yeah.
The Jets still put up a good amount of points, too, in the second half, too. Even though it was garbage time, they still put up some points. So you definitely get your points against them.
You sure will. And it helps for fantasy. Hassan Haskins against the Dolphins is going to be big, like I said before. Matthew Stafford against the Ravens. Whew! I like Matt Stafford against the Ravens this week. Ravens are freaking terrible and hurting. And, they go into a bye the week after, so why bring their guys back? I think they're just going to rest them again, and which sucks. They're going to lose, but that's life. A terrible strike call there. Come on. Jordan Whittingham, wide receiver against the Ravens. I like him. He's going to be big. Dylan Gabriel, Dave, that was a great call against the Steelers. The Steelers' pass D isn't good, and I like Dylan Gabriel, and he's a little bit more elusive, and he can get away from T.J. Watt. Quinshon Junkins against the Steelers should be okay, and wide receiver Jerry Jeudy against the Steelers too. So those are my non-starters, sleepers trending up. Who are yours?
Yeah, I like a lot of yours too. I like the Troy Franklin one. I definitely like that one as well. Marvin Mims too. You haven't heard from him lately, but I like him too. He could have a big game. He's been kind of under the radar this year so far. I like him. I like the Matthew Stafford and Corum. I like both of those guys. The Ravens D is in shambles right now. There's just all the injuries there. I like actually Bryce Young too as well. Flournoy, I like him too. Turpin even actually could be a nice sleeper there too against the Panthers. I like all those guys. I like Dylan Gabriel. Isaiah Bond actually is the receiver I like there too. Like I was just talking about, he's getting more targets week by week, and he was one of those sought after free agents after the draft that no one drafted, but he was supposed to go pretty early in the draft before that too. So a lot of people questioned why he didn't go earlier. Geno Smith, he didn't do too well this past week, but I think he could bounce back against the Titans. He needs to have a good game here. So I think this could be a good game for him against the Titans. Actually, I like that. I like the Packers this week. You already started in Love, but yeah, definitely Dobbs, Wicks, both those guys. Keep an eye on Watson too. He should be coming back now. They opened the practice window on him, so maybe the next 2-3 weeks he should be coming back as well. A guy we didn't mention on the waiver wire that I actually really like this week is Dullen. I think it's A.J. Dullen. I forgot his last name, but he actually, all those slot receivers for the Colts have been having good weeks actually. So Dullen actually had a good week this past week, and he has a good matchup against the Cardinals as well. So I like Doolin. I'm sorry, Doolin. Yeah, I like him actually too. He's a guy that we didn't mention in the waiver wire, but he's a guy that's kind of a sleeper this week too. That could actually have a nice, sneaky, good game again. He had a pretty solid game last week as well. So Doolin is a guy that I really like this week as well. R.J. Davis could have a nice game against the Falcons, and Algier could have a good game too. Though Bills' defense is bend or break, but they definitely can give up some yards too, so I like that matchup for them this week. Deebo Samuel actually had a nice game this past week. I like him against the Bears. Bears' defense is not that as good as I thought they were, but I definitely like that matchup for Deebo this week as well, especially with McLaren out again.
I like Deebo from Friday more, my friend Noskin. It's oh man, that was a classic movie. Now Debo Samuel,
would.
especially with McLaurin out, Debo's been a beast. So keep him in mind. He's nice in those situations. So move to bus, Dave, and then I'll give you my bus.
Okay, sounds good. This week, I don't like the Giants this week against the Eagles. After that loss, Eagles are going to be coming back pissed off. They're going to be looking to play, and I think they're going to just pound on the Giants. I think Dart could possibly have a decent game, but yeah, that's not looking good with Neighbors out. Then Dart against the rookie against the Eagles D. Yeah, the Eagles have one of the better Ds, I think, too. Jets, I'm definitely downgrading all of them. I don't like Fields this week. Garrett Wilson's still been getting his every week, but even him, I think, is a little shaky against the Broncos. They have some good corners at Surtain there. I think he'll probably be locked on Wilson, so I don't like that matchup either this week. Don't like the Ravens this week, especially if Cooper Rush is playing. All those players are kind of downgraded. It brings Henry down. It brings Zay Flowers down. Cooper Rush really struggled this past week. So
I wrote bench
well.
any Raven that's not Lamar, because Lamar's probably hurt anyway.
Exactly.
If Lamar plays,
so
if
Lamar plays,
yeah.
If Lamar plays, then it's a different story. But I think Rush is going to play again. It sounds like so. I don't like that matchup. I don't like the Cardinals against the Colts. Colts have a better defense than people have really been giving them credit for, and that's one of the reasons they've been playing so well too. So, and they have the 4-1. So, Cardinals, Murray's banged up a little bit too. They're on their third string running back. So, definitely not starting them against the Colts. I like them. Jaguars actually have a better defense than you think. You saw tonight that pick 6.
Oh, so, dude, they've been surviving on turnovers, and it's been good.
Yeah, the Jaguars' defense is no joke. Like they're legit. Like so, I'm definitely downgrading the Seahawks this week. I don't like the running backs against them, and I'm probably Darnold even too. I'm downgrading him this week, possibly against them as well. So, one other team I didn't like this week. I don't like the Bengals against the Packers. I think the Packers D steps up this week. Kind of shows what the kind of defense they are this week against the Bengals. Like I was telling you, Kia, man, I don't like Browning. At the beginning of the year, I thought he was going to be serviceable for Burrow, but he's not. Some of those throws this past week were just horrible. He's way off target. Wasn't even close on a couple of his throws that. Like deep throws, they were way off. So, yeah, they were horrible.
He got some garbage time, and so he's actually put up some numbers. But they were thinking about starting Brett Rippon, so just keep that in mind. And I think unfortunately, Jamar Chase actually did score. Thank God for me last week, and it put me in a situation where I'm really close in this league. He's got Butker, which isn't like doing exactly great either. Sam Darnold against the Jags is iffy. It's kind of what I mentioned, Dave. I agree. I think that the Jags defense is underrated. Breece Hall against the Broncos. How about that one? That's
a good one. I didn't think of that one. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't like him either. I said Fields too, but yeah, both of them.
And Wilson. Yeah, so all three of those guys. Jared Goff against the Chiefs is kind of iffy. Yeah, what if you get one of those Lions stinkers because the Chiefs are losing this game and they're going to be pissed? That always can happen. So, keep that in mind. Jalen Warren against the Browns is kind of bad for the Steelers, even though they're coming off the bye. I don't like him or Aaron Rodgers against the Browns. I think the Browns are just all defense, ugly up the game, run the clock, type situation. And,
the offense did look better with Dylan Gabriel at the helm, though, and like you said, he's more mobile. He had some nice throws, actually. I think
that's why
every week I think he'll improve a little bit.
That's why I put the Browns on like my list of plays. I think the Browns could beat the Steelers. Really, it's one of those. Of course, the Browns screwed me last week because that garbage last second touchdown. Yeah. I did it 4.5 at least, so I won my bet. But in the millions, it was 3.5. So the books got middled, which is nice. It's funny. I don't have as many busts lately, Dave, because these defenses are so freaking bad this year. I feel, there has just been some suspect defenses, and it's even like when you look at some of the better teams, it's like the Ravens. Their defense is terrible now. The Lions defense.
Well, the injuries killed them.
Yeah. The only defenses that you can trust are really, the Packers at home. Maybe not on the road so much, but probably the Packers defense. You trust the Houston Texans, but they can't score on offense. The Eagles, yes, I guess, kind of. The Jaguars, maybe, but there's still the Jags and the Denver Broncos. Those are the only the Vikings. I'll throw in the Vikings, but dude, that's the only defenses you can trust. The Chargers are getting lit.
Well, Steelers too. Steelers are hit or miss, but Steelers they got the core there and they got Watts.
Steelers are number 24th. They're number 24th in EPA. Their defense, 24th. So I don't know, man. It's just their pass defense has been so bad. Maybe they figured it out.
Pass defense has struggled.
In the last game
sure.
we saw was against
Especially
Carson Wentz. You know, it's like it's hard to figure that out. We got another question from Brendan Miller. Trade Egbuka and Rashad White for Jefferson.
Ooh.
Okay. You
want me to go first? You want
you go first this time.
Okay.
It's tough.
I really like Ibuka. Like that's a really tough trade actually, but like you can't pass up Jefferson though. But now with their quarterback situation, it's tough. But if JJ comes back or if Wentz plays, I really like Jefferson more, so definitely do the trade if they have a quarterback. But if they have their third string guy starting, I think it's Bowser's his name. That's tough, but I think Jefferson's still going to get his even with any quarterback throwing to him. He's still one of the best receivers in the league, so I'd probably do that. Rashad White's not going to keep his job. Bucky Irving should be back after next week.
He's
Bucky
just a
Irving will be out this
handcuff
week, but after
guy.
that,
I agree. Dave, you got to get Jefferson. I know that Luka's been lighting it up, but what happens when Jalen McMillan comes back? He's not off for a year, right? Mike Evans, when he comes back.
Evans is going to come back too.
There's
Godwin's already back, so in a couple of weeks he's not going to be getting as many targets probably. So
he'll still get some.
really
But
like
it's just
him right now.
it's a situation where there's just too many hands to feed. While Jefferson is Jefferson, man. Now I know they have Addison who runs freely as well, but it's Jefferson, dude. Did you see him last week scoring in that last drive? He was just a beast. He's the best receiver in football. Him and Chase are just pretty 1 and 2, man.
Yeah. I go get him probably because like the Tampa Bay is going to have some guys getting healthy here. So like Evans is going to come back, like you said. McMillan might be coming back. Godwin's getting healthy now, so there's going to be more targets.
You're never going to get more value on Egbuka than you have right now after this week. He's going to only go down. It's only going to go down. And Rashad White is just a handcuff for Bucky Irving. That's all he is. He's not going to be.
That's all he is.
You ain't starting him. And Irving's going to be back in 2 weeks. So there you have it. Moving into our nasty sleepers, Dave. Mine's pretty nasty. It's not terribly nasty. But I'm going to go with Kimani Vidal against the Dolphins, Dave. The Dolphins are terrible. That run defense is awful. The Chargers, even though they're banged up, are desperate. And I am worried about their offensive line, but that's why I like Vidal a little bit more to take the catches. And I think he's going to score a couple TDs. I would even play a prop on him for TDs. So that's my sleeper, my nasty one.
That is nasty. I was actually, it was kind of funny actually because I'm going with Hassan Haskins. That's who I had before you.
Well, maybe they both do. Maybe it's like a 45-10 route.
I had Haskins already picked up before he even started, so I was funny. Like, when you said that, I was like, oh no, but yeah, I went with Haskins. So we'll see which one is the nastier one. But yeah, Hassan Haskins is my D-nasty sleeper this week.
I love it. We're on the same team here. I could have picked Geno Smith too, or anybody on the Raiders.
I was looking at him, but he screwed me last week, and like he's so inconsistent. But that was my 1B here was the Geno Smith definitely.
Well, they were playing the Colts last week, so it wasn't. The Colts defense. Yeah. The Colts are just getting better and better too. They're ranked really high in my power ratings right now. Anything we missed?
I don't think so. Make sure you get those bye week players out and enjoy some good games. Hopefully there's some good games like this last week, and there's some nice upsets this last week.
Yes, that's right. And hopefully no bad beats like we saw with the disgusting DeMarcado fumble and just the weirdness of that interception fumble going in the end zone of the thing. That was the weirdest freaking game I've ever seen.
Oh my God. That reminded me of Deshaun Jackson back in the day when he did that.
John Taylor dropped it too last year, and last week we found out another Colts. Mitchell did it. It's just, go through the back of the end zone before you do it. That's what I say. Just run through the back of the end zone, then do whatever you want. So look at that as your end zone line. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at the Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.